There is a fungus which can control ants. Well, that doesn't sound too bad until you realize that this same fungus also infects humans. This particular strain of fungus is known as Ophiocordyceps unilateralis, but it's more commonly referred to as the zombifying fungus. And like something out of a zombie movie, this fungus slowly takes over its victims, turning them into real-life zombies. It was discovered in 1945 by a scientist named Robert W. Gack, and it's thought to be one of the oldest parasites in the world. The fungus is able to infect around 500 different species of ants, with each strain specializing in just a handful of these species. If the fungus were to kill its host too quickly, the spores would have nothing left to eat and the colony would collapse. As the zombifying fungus continues to feed on its host, it starts to take control of their mind. Once the zombifying fungus has finished growing within the body, it starts to make its way to the brain. The corpus then instructs the ant to leave the colony and search for food. When the ant leaves the colony, the fungus takes over completely. In fact, it's been found to infect a wide range of hosts, including termites, cockroaches, and even beetles. Instead of taking over the host and controlling their movements, the zombifying fungus simply uses its body as a way to spread its spores. The fungus essentially turns the host into a tiny umbrella that sprays the forest floor and the ants' colony mates below with even more zombifying fungus. This allows the fungus to spread quickly and easily, infecting new hosts and continuing the cycle of infection. By understanding how the zombifying fungus works, we can learn more about the evolution of parasitism and the amazing adaptations that parasites have developed over time. In fact, it's estimated that over 200 different parasites call humans home. These worms live in the intestines and feed on the nutrients in our food, which can lead to malnutrition and other health problems. But while roundworms are a common parasite, there are many others that can infect humans. Tapeworms, for example, can cause a range of health problems, including abdominal pain, weight loss, and even seizures. And protozoans such as Giardia can cause diarrhea, stomach cramps, and other digestive problems. While most of these parasites don't pose a serious threat to human health, some can cause serious illness and even death. That's why it's so important to learn about the parasites that infect us and take steps to protect ourselves from their harmful effects. It is actually a reminder of the importance of learning about the parasites that infect us and the steps that we can take to protect ourselves. Parasites are a part of the natural world, and we can't avoid them entirely. But by understanding how they work and taking steps to protect ourselves, we can minimize the risks that they pose to our health. Some strains of the fungus can turn their hosts into what's known as fruiting bodies, which allows the fungus to spread its spores directly from the bodies of its victims. Other strains are able to control their hosts, turning them into real-life zombies. Cooking our food thoroughly can help kill many parasites, as can washing our hands thoroughly and avoiding contact with contaminated water. Taking antiparasitic medication can also be effective in treating existing infections. The infected ant will fall into a state called the death feigning stage, where it will contort itself into unnatural positions and release chemicals that will attract other ants. These ants will come to investigate, believing that they're dealing with a dead member of the colony that needs to be cared for. In one study, researchers found that mice infected with a strain of the fungus were able to fight off the infection for up to 30 days. During this time, the fungus didn't appear to control their movements or alter their behavior in any significant way. But after 30 days, the zombifying fungus began to take over, turning the mice into what is known as a fruiting body and allowing the fungus to spread to new hosts. But when these ants try to pick the infected up, the zombifying fungus takes over completely and infect new hosts, meaning that no creature is safe from this terrifying parasite. Here it begins to produce even more chemicals that start to alter the behavior of the host. It also produces dark, thread-like structures called stromata, which branch out and form fruiting bodies. From here, the zombifying fungus can start to spread its spores to new hosts, starting the infection process all over again. By manipulating the chemicals that control the host's movement, the fungus is able to direct the ant to act natural, tricking its colony mates into thinking everything's alright. Chemicals released by the parasite prevent the host from releasing chemicals that would alert other members of the colony to the intrusion. The fungus then pumps chemicals called phenylacetonitrate or PON into the host's body, which suppresses their immune system and allows the zombifying fungus to multiply within their organs. These chemicals also appear to calm the infected ant down, preventing it from acting suspiciously and alerting the rest of the colony. But by keeping the ant alive, the fungus can grow and spread to new hosts without any interference. But while certain strains are adapted to control certain ants, they aren't picky about what other types of hosts they can infect. The zombifying fungus first infects ants, controlling their every move before spreading to other insects and even mammals like mice. But as horrifying as this sounds, the scariest part is that this fungus is no respecter of species and humans are just as susceptible as anything else. So let's take a closer look at how this parasite works and how it might affect you. This parasite has been with us for hundreds of thousands of years. When the spores of the zombifying fungus land on an unsuspecting host, they burrow straight into their exoskeleton. It then grows small tendrils called stromata, which push through the outer shell of the insect and begin feeding on its soft inner tissues. Once inside, the parasite immediately begins to set up shop, creating structures called fruiting bodies that will allow it to spread to new hosts. Meanwhile, the rest of the fungus begins consuming the ant's nutritionally rich hemolymph, which is similar to our blood. As the fungus feasts on its host, it releases chemicals that prevent the ant from dying. Since the fungus needs to keep its host alive, it only really starts to take over once it's fully grown. But the most important thing that the fungus needs to do is get itself to the brain. But the zombifying fungus isn't done manipulating its host yet. The fungus then starts to send tendrils out of the back of dead ants, anchoring them to the ground below. But while this may sound like something out of a horror movie, the zombifying fungus isn't only limited to ants. In some cases, the fungus has been observed to turn its hosts into what's known as a fruiting body. And while the zombifying fungus is typically associated with insects, it's actually been found to infect mammals as well. While the zombifying fungus may not be able to control the movements of its larger hosts, it's still able to spread. But while the zombifying fungus may sound like something out of a horror movie, it's actually a fascinating example of how parasites have evolved to take advantage of their hosts. It's also worth noting that the zombifying fungus is just one of many parasites that infect humans. One of the most common parasites that infect humans is the intestinal roundworm, which is estimated to infect over 1 billion people worldwide. Fortunately, there are steps that we can take to protect ourselves from these parasites. So, while the zombifying fungus may sound like something out of a horror movie, now watch how long does it take for someone to die. Or check out what actually kills the most people.